Orlando.
Welcome to the OZone.
Welcome to the OZone.
Welcome to the OZone. Welcome to the OZone.
The voice of massive Magic fans.
Welcome back to another episode of the OZone podcast, the voice of Magic fans. In the virtual studio today, we have Justin.
Yo.
Al.
Yo.
Myself, Anthony. And today we got a special guest from the Sixth Man Show, Jonathan Osbourne. What's up, man?
What's up, fellas? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. Glad to have you on. If you're hearing this today, this means that this episode is being recorded one day after our first NBA preseason of the brand new season. And I think that, it might be a good idea if we just jump right into it. Magic played last night against the Atlanta Hawks, and the Magic got a win of 116 and 112 in the preseason opener. Quickly, man, what are your thoughts on the game last night? What'd you guys see?
I don't know how you guys usually do this, so I'm just going to kind of jump in. It seems pretty free-flowing. First of all, I love the Santa hat. I don't know if you guys are listening. You might not be able to see Anthony's Santa hat, but it's fire. But no, I mean, typical preseason game, you know what I mean? You try not to draw too much from it. I thought we saw some really good things. We saw some bad things. I think with Atlanta, I mean, it's preseason, so I'm not trying to get concerned, but I'm the kind that I kind of overreact to everything. You guys might know that about me. But it's just kind of concerning. Like they haven't played together really at all, but we're still in that game. And I think that it just kind of shows us what we're going to see throughout the regular season is how talented that team is, how quickly they can score, and how quickly they can erase a deficit. But definitely saw a lot of good things from the rookies, from the vets, some good, some bad. Looking at UMCW. But overall, I thought it was fun to watch at least.
Yeah, same thing here. I mean, it was a typical preseason game. But one thing that I did like about the Magic that was a little bit different, the pace of the game that they played with, it was really, really different than last year. I felt like they were really making an effort to push the pace. And just the way that we came out of the gate, like we looked like a team that has been together for a while. And that was fun to see. Last year, we didn't see that, even though we expected it because we was the same team from the year before. This year, it seemed like consistency in our roster really made a difference.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I mean, I think the continuity really speaks for itself. Like you were saying, Al, like right out of the gate, you could tell that this is a team that's played together for a while because at this point they have, for the most part. Aaron Gordon especially looked really, really good in that first half, sat out the second half. But, he had a nice three ball, like right out of the gate, had a huge putback jam. So it was like, all right, is this the year that Aaron is going to take the leap? But then it's like, I'm just telling myself, like, stay calm. Don't believe it. Don't fall back in love. Your ex comes back and, I've changed and everything's great. So it's like, we got to kind of wait and see what's going to happen with Aaron. But no, I definitely agree with you. They look really good right out of the break.
I think that's one of the things I love most about the preseason is that everything is an overreaction. We got one game and then you have maybe about 10 to 25 minutes of time for each of these players. So off the back, I'm already saying Bacon is going to be the steal of free agency.
Gosh, absolutely.
Aaron Gordon got like 20 pounds stronger and he's pushing people out of the way. So it was really fun. The Fro's doing it. Evan Fournier is looking like it's a contract year or is it? Yeah, it's a contract year, so he's trying to earn his money. So I think overall our starting unit did a really good job. Obviously, it's going to be a little weird because we know that Bacon isn't going to be in the mix, but it gives me a lot of optimism that maybe Bacon in that second unit is going to do really well with the Terrence Rosses and the Mo Bambas and the rookies that we have coming in.
Yeah, I think it really speaks to the depth of this team, at least. And again, we're trying not to overreact here. I don't want to say that 5 million times, but it is what it is. We've got one game in the last 4 months, so we want to chop it up right. But when you look at Dwayne Bacon, he looked great last night. Started I think like 5 for 5, had it all going, had the mid-range jump shot going to the the rim, everything like that. But like you just said, we're probably not going to see him in the rotation. Like once Ross comes back. Once Al-Farouq Aminu is back, James Ennis, probably not going to see a lot of Dwayne Bacon. Same thing with Gary Clark, who I think out of everybody, Clark was like the least mentionable last night, right? But again, a guy who's probably going to be your 13th man. But yeah, I think it just really speaks to the depth of this team that everybody got in there and everybody kind of had their moment last night. Some guys had good moments. Some people had, more bad moments than others. But you could kind of see kind of in a flash, like what everybody is going to give this team. Like you saw it with Chuma, knock down a couple of shots. You saw it with Cole, Got to the rim a couple of times. Looked really good. Didn't always finish, but his ability just to get there to create that opportunity for himself, and again, Dwayne off the dribble and what he can bring offensively. So I'm really excited for the new guys.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because last year, the last 2 years, the criticism was that Cliff stuck to his rotations and wouldn't let the young players play and whatnot. But I think if you look back at how he created the opportunity for MCW and made it a point to allow MCW to play even after his struggles, I think you're going to see a similar situation with Dwayne Bacon. I don't know if I believe that he brought Dwayne to Orlando and made it, a big deal or a big signing just to have him ride the bench. I think if Dwayne Bacon continues to, kind of show out during preseason, we could see a situation where he starts over James Ennis.
And what I like most about the rookies I saw also, I think one of the things that really stood out to me was the fact that Cole Anthony is really, really confident. And then you had Chuma OThreeKe, who's the bipolar opposite. He's really, really nervous. Or he started off, obviously it's his first game, hasn't played in a really, really long time, so I kind of expected it. He even mentioned it before in his interviews that he was really nervous. But the fact that he was kind of playing really timid and still did as well, he exceeded my expectations, hit down a lot of big shots, and even was confident, took it to the rim a couple times. So I think seeing them two, their first game, and I think even Cole Anthony's confidence was an attribute of his nervousness as well. I think they're going to be all right. I'm really happy with everything I saw from the rookies.
I was overreacting like crazy yesterday when I saw Kiki. He hit that corner three, and I was like, oh, my God, this guy's going to be a star. But, it is a preseason game. I like his athleticism. I think as the game progressed, he got more confident, definitely more active on defense. I liked when the young guys were on the court because you saw their need to run. I feel like this team has been slow and played in the half court for a long time. And it was just refreshing to see the young guys, push the pace, run, and be active.
Now, out of everything that you saw yesterday, who would you say that you're most excited for in regards to our rookies? Did anything that you see yesterday make you more excited for Cole or more excited for OThreeKe?
I don't know. I'm kind of split on that. I'm kind of 50-50. More of me feels like we kind of know what we're going to get from Cole, right? We've seen him, most recently. We kind of know where his health is at. I think last night, a lot of it was nerves, like some of the turnovers and some of the forced shots that you saw. The game has still got to, slow down for Cole. He's only had 4 or 5 practices, maybe official practices with the team. So the game definitely still needs to slow down for him, and he'll get there. But I'm excited to see what we get out of Chuma. You saw the shooting. The shooting is on display. He came out ready to shoot the basketball, right? You could definitely tell he was very nervous. In certain instances, he wasn't really sure where he was supposed to be standing and things like that. But Chuma, for me, is just kind of going to be a wait and see. You saw most of the second half, him sitting there with the heat wrap on his left knee, he tore the ACL to keep it warm so that when his number did get called, he was ready to go into the game and everything like that. Cole, I think we're going to see his minutes ramped up a lot more quickly than we will with Chuma. But I'm definitely still excited for both of those guys.
Yeah, same thing here. I think you cannot go wrong with either one. I think the one guy, though, that just it's pure excitement for me personally is Cole. I think just his attitude, his demeanor, even after the game, the things that he mentioned after the game, he was ready to play and show that he is better than what he showed in that game. And he was not shy, man. Whenever he was open, he shot the ball. And not for nothing, when those shots go in, man, it's all net. So I'm excited to see how that shot develops as he gets more comfortable in the NBA. And we need a guy like him. One thing that impressed me a lot is the fact that Clifford let Markelle and Cole play together a little bit yesterday. That's exciting because I think once those two figure it out, it's going to be really fun to watch on a nightly basis.
And before you said who was I most excited for, when you asked me about the rookies, my brain immediately went to Markelle because the jump shot definitely looks much better. It's not perfect. It's not where it was at Washington, at least not yet. But just his confidence and his ability to just pull up without any hesitation, and it does look a lot better. And 2 out of the 3 last night that he took, one went in and one rolled out. So if that shot gets into the mid to high 30s, it's a wrap. Just ship the LOB to Orlando. because Markelle will get us there someday. Maybe not, but definitely has me excited.
Yeah, and I think that because we had discussed it before in other episodes that the best thing that could have happened for Markelle Fultz is the fact that DJ Augustine's no longer on the roster. You got a rookie that's going to give him some backup minutes, so it really is his show. And I tried my best to kind of take a look at his jump shot, because Clifford had made the comments that his shot is as it used to be. And I'm still seeing it look exactly the same, but it does look smoother. Like you right. See it where he's connecting. It looks way more efficient, and again, the confidence hasn't hindered that whatsoever. Now, one of the things that I love most is in regards to Cole Anthony. Josh Robbins had posted an article on The Athletic saying he had asked on a scale of 1 to 10, how does he feel his performance was? As a viewer, he had, in my opinion, he didn't have the greatest game, and he evaluated himself, giving himself a 1 out of 10. What are your thoughts on a player, especially a rookie, being able to be honest with himself and honest to the public on his very first performance, saying, hey, I didn't play that well, but I know that I didn't play that well, and I'm willing to do everything I can to get the nerves out and get back to work and get better?
Yeah, so, I mean, I watched a little bit of Cole at UNC. I'm a big UNC guy, so and to be perfectly honest, I was not that impressed with him, but I think a lot of it was the perception that a lot of people had of Cole coming out of high school. Like, he was supposed to be like the next guy, like on like the Kyrie, level, stuff like that, right? So 18.5 points a game was inefficient at UNC, but from draft night, the one thing that I got really excited about was just him talking after the draft. Like, he's ready to get in work. He loves basketball more than anything, and it's been evident since the moment that he got to Orlando that he loves basketball so much. He wants nothing more than to work and to become a better player. So I wasn't surprised to hear that in the slightest last night from Cole, that immediately he wants to, watch film and get better, like right now. You know what I mean? So that didn't surprise me at all, and that's everything that you want to hear out of a rookie, that he didn't have a great game. He really didn't. But the fact that he's able to realize that and say, no, I have a lot that I need to get better at, I mean, can't go wrong from there.
Yeah, I also like the fact that he, his attitude and his demeanor kind of fit into that Clifford demeanor. I remember when Clifford first got to Orlando, and one of the first, assessments that he made on the team was, we're no longer going to celebrate moral victories, right? Like, oh, this guy did decent or improved slightly over his last game. We're looking for actual substantial change and wins. And I think Cole Anthony's attitude fits that. And I like that attitude. I like the fact that, for a long time, this team was complacent in how they approach the game. And I think Cole Anthony has a desire to be one of the greats, and that's going to show through over time. Obviously, there's aspects of his game that he has to adjust to the speed of the NBA, the strength of the guys that are guarding and defending him in the NBA. And those things will come with time. But the one thing that you can't teach is mentality. And I think that Cole Anthony has that.
Right, yeah, because he could have made excuses last night. He could have, it's just my first game. I'm a rookie. It'll come to me. He didn't make any excuses.
It's funny because he's so confident. It's ironic that his favorite word is shoot, and that's on and off the court. And it sounds like he's a rookie that is going to be able to get it together. And I'm honestly really, really excited to see what we get from him.
From what you saw last night, do you, moving forward, into the regular season, do you think that the possibility of seeing Cole and Markelle on the court at the same time is real? Or do you think Cliff is going to stick to that, Cole running the second unit?
I mean, I always kind of run into a conflict of interest when it comes to Cliff, because like what I want him to do isn't necessarily what he's going to do. And I'm kind of at the point now where like Cliff can do anything and I'm just not surprised. Like last night we could have found out that Gary Clark could have started at small forward, or Michael Carter-Williams, or anybody, but it was Dwayne Bacon. I was like, oh, well, I mean, it makes sense, but like I just wasn't expecting that, right? So I think last night showed me that if the shooting with Markelle is real, like if he can shoot like, anywhere from like 33, 34% and up, right? I definitely think that they can play together and be effective. Now, whether or not that's actually going to happen with Cliff, in my opinion, is a completely different story. We just kind of have to wait and see. But I think they can and be efficient in doing so. Yeah.
I think Cliff, we know that Cliff is very, very patient with his with his process, whatever his long-term plan is, he's okay with it taking some time. I can't see them starting anytime this season together, pending injuries. I see him really filling in that DJ Augustine role and coming off the bench, but I do foresee them playing a lot of time on the floor, which in my opinion is probably the most important thing. He already experimented a little bit with that, and we saw that in yesterday's game. And I thought for the most part it went as well as it can be. Markelle's still going to be the primary ball handler, and his name's going to be called when it gets called. But I think eventually we will see it in the starting lineup. I mean, unless something crazy happens, like Evan Fournier gets traded, Justin, then that's the only.
I was going to ask him. I was going to ask Mike. I'm glad you did.
I don't see it happening in the starting lineup by any means, but when you think about last year, there was a lot of times when DJ and Markelle played together.
Yeah.
So I think we can definitely see that this year. Again, I see Cole as that replacement 100% for DJ Augustine. Higher upside, big time for sure. But I think we'll see it a lot. And as the season goes on and Clifford's more confident in what Cole can do, I think we'll see it a lot more. So, and I'm ready for that. I think the whole fan base wants to see that lineup. And when you add in there maybe a Mo Bamba or a Chuma OThreeKe, along with those two young guys, even more. But I think as the season goes on, we'll see it more and more.
Yeah, definitely. And a quick note about Mo Bamba. I saw some of like the press photos, like they're that like the photos where they took with like that blue lighting kind of on the side of them. Mo looks like he ate last year's Mo, and last year's Mo looked like he ate rookie year Mo. So the conditioning is definitely it seems to be a ways off. Like Mo had that interview with Josh Robbins, and it's like Josh Robbins kind of got the scoop for when Mo kind of came out and told everybody that he had COVID, right? Like he came out and did that interview with Josh. So it seems like anytime Mo isn't really able to play, he's like, all right, let me go to Josh and just kind of let my voice be heard so people can know like what is going on from my perspective, which I actually really appreciate him doing that. But he said, like Cliff says I'm a ways away, but I think I'm pretty close. Looking at those photos, I'm like, dude, this guy, he's getting big, which is a good thing. Like we all know that he needs to add the weight, but I saw that this morning. I was like, oh man, all right, here we go. So we'll see.
I mean, I think the difference that you can see is that because I was taking a look at the same pictures, and I do see that his body looks a little like way more conditioned than when we saw when he added the 20-30 pounds during the middle of the COVID. So it's good to see that he's adding both of them, because whether you're a fan of Mo Bamba or not, I think that he is definitely important to the team, and we need a player like him to back up Vucevic, because I still have hopes, and it might just be silly me, but I still have hopes that he can be what we expect him to be at one point, to take over the mantle from Nikola Vucevic at one point in time.
I think I'm and I always get criticized for this, but I'm kind of done with Mo Bamba, because I feel like no matter how much his body grows or how improved his conditioning is, I think Mo Bamba's problem is more mental than physical, right? Because even when he was small, he was still bigger than most of the dudes he was playing against. I think it's just the way he processes the game and the way he is motivated by the game, which is the problem, in my opinion.
I think part of that is fair, but I also feel like the injuries and his health since he's been in the league and the opportunity that he's been given hasn't really given him much chance to show otherwise. Like I definitely get like the concerns. The thing that I don't understand from some people with Mo Bamba is like how badly they want him to suck and like how badly they want him to fail. Like if you're a fan of this team, like we used a lottery pick on the kid, you want him to be good. You want him to have every opportunity to be good. And so that's my 2 cents on Mo Bamba.
And it's unfortunate because Mo Bamba isn't the only one that's dealing with injuries. We hit Terrence Ross obviously suffered an injury. James Ennis as well. We have to be leading the NBA with toe injuries in the preseason by far. Still no timetable on Aminu and obviously Bamba. We're hoping that some of these injuries won't last past December 22nd when we start the season. But if that's the case, how confident are you with the team that we have now going into the season?
I mean, if you asked Dominique Wilkins last night, like as soon as Jonathan Isaac comes back, we're going to be fine. Which I don't know if he realizes is going to be an entire year from now. You know what I mean? So a lot of people had issues with the broadcast team last night. I thought they were okay. They weren't as bad as like Boston or Miami. I can't stand some of those telecasts, but no, I definitely pretty much like expect, like Terrence has said, like, oh, I can play through it, but like it's a stress it's like a hairline fracture in his toe. So like, how much do you really want to mess with that? Like at some point you just want it to heal and for the guy to be healthy. With Ennis, like we've heard, it's like a toenail, and then yesterday it was like he got kicked in the calf or something like that. So I think those guys will be back, relatively soon. Talking about Mo and Chief, those are the guys that we just don't really have a good idea of when they're going to be back. I'm not overly confident, as far as like our playoff prospects come this year, even if everyone is healthy. So if those guys are out for any significant amount of time, I think it definitely is going to hurt us. When you look specifically at like the horizon, the Eastern Conference, you look at Charlotte, they got better. Atlanta got better. Washington got better. So I think Orlando is really going to end up fighting for like that 9th or 10th seed, like trying to get into the play-in game. But, Terrence is huge off of the bench. Now, if you're going to tell me Cole is going to come out and be able to give us, anywhere from 12 to 16 points a night, then I'll feel pretty good about that. But until he proves that, missing Terrence off of the bench is really going to be huge. So I'm not overly confident with those guys out. But then again, I'm not overly confident with those guys in either. This season for me is I'm really hoping we see Markelle take the next step. We see Bamba take the next step so that we have some confidence that maybe in a year or so he could be a starter in this league. And then we're just hoping that Cole and Chuma have good rookie years. What about you guys?
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a lot of I would say the Magic are more like a wild card. I think there's a lot of questions. But from watching the young guys last night, I think we might have something in a few of those guys. Like Kennedy, I thought was really good. I think he can shoot. That's right. So I think that's something we could always utilize. Jordan Bone, I liked his effort, man. I thought he was involved. Even when his shot wasn't falling, he wasn't scared to shoot. And I think for a long time, this team or the players on this team have been afraid to, to shoot and take those moments. So I think until midseason, where we really gauge what we have with the young guys, it'll kind of be difficult to say, we have a chance at the playoffs, or no, this is a development.
And with COVID, everything is going to be such a wild card this season. Like, I was on a podcast last night, and we were talking about how COVID really has a big opportunity to like wreck some of these teams. Like if Giannis or LeBron or somebody like that comes down with COVID, and I think right now the league rule is like they have to miss like a minimum of 10 days and then have like a certain number of negative tests. Like if the top of the Western Conference is really tight, and then all of a sudden you're losing LeBron for like 5-6 games, like that's a big deal. That can shift the landscape of the top of the Western Conference, right? We could be looking at the same thing in the East. If the Magic are fighting for a 10th or 9th seed, and one of those 7-8 teams lose a couple of guys to COVID, you could see the Magic just creep up to the 7th or 8th spot. So this season, you could tell me anything's going to happen, and I'll believe it.
Yeah, you mix that with the opportunity of the play-in tournament, you really have an opportunity to where we could be worse than last season, but we could still have that same opportunity. In my opinion, and I know that this may not be something that everyone will say, I'm okay if we don't make the playoffs. To me, my most important thing is development from Markelle, Chuma, and then Cole Anthony. Those three to me are we'll add Obama in there too, but those three for me are players that we need to see a leap for us to be able to have faith, because we know that this team isn't going to be able to reach their maximum capacity without Jonathan Isaac, and he's out for a year.
That's when the moment my mentality changed. Jonathan went down. I was like, next year's a wash.
I honestly, and obviously it's not, we can't compare it to the same analogy, but not having Jonathan Isaac and us playing and developing our rookies kind of reminds me of, again, not the same analogy, but Golden State Warriors not having their main players. They're having a sucky year. They get a really good draft pick, and then all of a sudden they have all their players back, and now they're going to be able to make that run. I kind of resemble that a little bit with us not having Jonathan Isaac, because even
so
the little span,
we're getting Cade Cunningham.
Yeah, we're getting all those players.
Jaylen Brown, something like that. Right.
That's the idea. We're expecting a very, very strong draft class, and anything that we get, any improvements from Markelle, from Cole Anthony, from Obama, from Chuma OThreeKe, you add Jonathan Isaac to that group, and now you're looking at a completely different team going into next season.
I meant Jalen Green. I know I said Jaylen Brown. My colors get mixed up.
Now, we're gonna get into a segment called pass or shoot, which is pretty simple, right? Passing if you decline, shooting if you agree, and then you're kind of making your case about it. So just going into the very first one of our pass or shoot, Nikola Vucevic, do you see him being the MVP of this team this season?
I'm gonna shoot. I think he's still the best player on the roster until Markelle proves otherwise. Talk about Evan Fournier, Aaron Gordon. Those are guys, in my opinion, I don't know that they're going to be on the team the entire year. Specifically, Evan, I'm sorry, Justin. I don't know that they're going to re-sign him. And if they're not, you got to get something for the asset, right? Outside of that, I don't see anybody that would really be able to play a significant enough role outside of like those four guys, Vooch, Aaron, Evan, Markelle. Like I think those are going to be like the four main candidates for that. I still think Vooch is the best player. If he can be anywhere near what he was in that Milwaukee series, it won't even be close.
I completely agree. Yeah, I think if there's one more year where I think Nikola Vucevic is that guy for us, and I think once Isaac is back, Markelle has one more year in him, that's when I will say, okay, I think J.I. or Markelle will take over. But I think this 2020 season, 2021, it will still be Nikola Vucevic's year.
I feel like it's been Nikola Vucevic's year for like the last 10 years since he's kind of been on the roster. We haven't had a better player on the team other than Nikola. It doesn't matter how frustrated you are with him. It doesn't matter if he's not the type of player for it. None of that matters. He's by far the best player on the roster. I remember a couple of years ago when I had read in an article that in the offseason that he was working on his shooting from behind the arc. I'm like, what are you doing? You have no business being out there. And that's probably one of the best things that he's ever done for his NBA career and his development.
Right.
So I would say shoot as well.
I wish he would shoot a few more corner threes. Obviously, it's a little bit closer, but that's a huge development in his game, definitely.
Yeah. Markelle Fultz will average more than 15 points per game.
Yeah, I'm gonna shoot. I think Markelle's confidence, obviously going into the first game of the preseason, you notice a difference, and I think the majority of his struggles are gonna come from his confidence. I think when he played here last year, I think a lot of times he wasn't capable, or not capable, but he wasn't confident in his game, especially coming off his shoulder injury, and so he deferred a lot. And I think, as you know, when it got to the end of the season, he was more comfortable driving in the paint, finishing through contact, and he realized, I may not have the 3-point game available to me, but I'm strong enough to kind of bang with these guys in the paint, so let me contribute to the team in that way. I think Markelle is super smart. His knowledge of the game is great, and I think he's one of those guys who can adapt to whatever is given to him as long as his confidence is there. And because of that, I think Markelle's going to average more than 15 points this year.
I'm going to shoot as well. I think one main factor, the shooting. I think if he just makes a couple more threes a game and then just gets to the free throw line a little more often, which he should, playing more minutes this season, he should definitely get there. He averaged, 12 points last season. Again, playing very kind of reserved, playing only 25 minutes a night. When you add to that the fact that he should be averaging above 30 minutes a night now this season with better three-point shooting, getting to the line more often, I can definitely see that happening. So I'm going to shoot and say that he averages more than 15 as well.
I think last season we were just happy that he was on the court. This season we're really going to focus on seeing that production from him. He averaged 12.1 points a game last season, and that's him still kind of being cautious of his shoulder. And he even said in a recent interview that he's able to work this offseason without really thinking too much into it. He's still taking care of it as much as he needs to. But I think with all that out of the way, all the eyes off of him, that I see no reason why he can't average 15, 16 points a game. If he averages more than that, then that's a bonus. But getting to that 15 mark, I think is a definite something that we can definitely bet on.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The only thing about Markelle that I see is, and it was evident even last night, is that he's very first like a pass first guy. Like he is looking really to get like the team the best available shot at any given time. And you saw that early, him giving it up to Evan, to Vooch, to Aaron, even to Dwayne. So I definitely think he's definitely capable of doing that. But what we've seen in recent years, really last year is the only example that we have. We still saw that very Vucevic, Evan Fournier centric offense, like a lot of the pick and roll they do and things like of that nature. However, Clifford came out last week and said Markelle has been way more assertive in practice. He's been more vocal as a leader, as a point guard. So that makes me feel optimistic that he will get there. I think if Markelle was more of a guy like maybe like a Damian Lillard or something like that, a guy who's just like, I'm looking to shoot first. Like, I believe that me shooting is the best option in this offense at all times. Markelle is a guy that if he really wanted to, really even with a limited jump shot, I think he could get somewhere like 17, 18, 19 points a game. Now, if he's shooting the three at a solid clip, I mean, the sky is really the limit for the kid. But this year, I'm gonna say he probably comes in like right at about 15 points per game.
Yeah, I would agree. I see that there's nothing in the way stopping him from being able to reach that. Jumping into our next one, Chuma OThreeKe will become a starter at some point this season. Can we see Chuma OThreeKe get into the starting three in the starting lineup with the Magic some point this season?
You guys want to take it? I'm not sure. I need a couple seconds to think. I mean, I'm going to say probably at some point with COVID and everything like that, there's a large possibility that he will start. Whether that becomes like an everyday thing, I'm not really sold on that. I think, most of us would agree that he's like a 3/4, like somewhere in there. We know James Ennis, Aaron Gordon, as of right now, are going to be the starters at those positions. The other thing that we know about Clifford is that he really likes to keep his rotations the same, right? So if something happens to our starting small forward or power forward, whoever that is at the time, if something happens to one of those guys so that he doesn't disrupt not only the first unit but also the second unit, I could see him turning to be like Gary Clark and be like, all right, Gary, you're going to start at small forward, and then we're going to keep Chuma in the second, that second unit so that we don't.
We've done it before.
We've seen him do that countless times before. So I'm going to lean mostly no, but I think it's possible that he could get a few spot starts, because of COVID and injuries and stuff like that.
I wonder if, that analysis on Clifford is, who he is as a coach, or if it was a byproduct of the lack of depth and talent that this team has had.
Totally possible. Yeah.
And now, like I was saying earlier, with the young guys, I think it's possible that he's more willing to try different things because he realizes that the skill level on the team has increased overall. And because of that, I'm gonna shoot. I think post All-Star break, depending on Chuma OThreeKe's confidence, depending on how his knee's holding up, I think we could see a situation where he does become the starter for this team, especially since we don't have like a solid option at 3, right? We had Ennis, who started at the 3 last year. Dwayne Bacon looked good, through game 1. But the money is on OThreeKe. The front office is banking on OThreeKe. They drafted him, when a lot of us reacted and we were like, who the hell is this guy? And, we went on a rant before we actually looked up footage and we're like, oh, okay, OThreeKe can definitely play. And I think if his knee holds up, I think that's going to be the major indicator of what his role on this team is. So I'm going to shoot on that.
I'm going to shoot as well. And it is going back to what Jonathan said earlier. I think the Magic, unfortunately, may not be as competitive as last season, right? So if at some point we decide, hey, we're going to have to trade some of these dudes to get something back for them, this season all of a sudden now it's all about next year. It's all about the draft. It's all about just playing the young guys. I think that's when you may see James Ennis maybe moved as well, or simply, hey, let's get Chuma a bigger look to see what he looks like at the 3. So I think at some point we might see that happen if the team underperforms. Now, if the team is playing well and we're competing for that 8 seed, 7 seed, heck, 6 seed, hopefully, at that point I may see Clifford say, you know what, no, let's keep things how they are, tight, keep coming off the bench. So I think it'll depend on how the team performs this season. If we underperform, I can definitely see Chuma getting some minutes at the 3 or the 4 at some point and being a starter.
Yeah, I'm definitely shooting. I can definitely see it where he's starting, but I don't think it's because of him playing above our expectations. I see a lot of things that it can happen. Our team's already struggling with injuries. All it takes is for Amina to be. I have no confidence that he's going to be able to play a whole entire season without re-injuring himself again. COVID being in the mix as well could impact that. So I think that he at one point will. But I just think that there's so many different variables that will allow it to happen that it doesn't just have to rely on him playing or exceeding his expectations. I don't think that will be a permanent role, but I do see him at least starting a couple games for us this season. Now, and then we're just jumping into our final one. The Magic will win more than 32 games this season.
I think I'm going to probably pass on that. Just because 32 wins, 72 win season, that has us finishing basically like 32 and 40. again, I am in the camp that I fully expect the team to move on from Evan Fournier at the trade deadline. Just because, just a ton of reasons. I don't think it fits into the team long term. I think he's a very good player. I'm not in the camp that think, Evan Fournier sucks or anything like that. I think he's a really good player. I think he, as a few other guys are miscast on this team. I think most people would agree that Evan is probably best suited as like your fourth, fifth option, maybe even like a six man on like a championship team. Magic are nowhere near that, right? However, moving on from him, if this team is, let's say, like 10, 12 games below 500 come the trade deadline, I could also see them shopping Aaron Gordon. It seems like every opportunity this team shops Aaron Gordon to see what they could get from him, right? And if the right return comes around, I could see them moving on from Aaron. Now, Aaron is still under contract for a few seasons, so if they decide we're just going to hang on to him for now and try to get another deal later on, you also can't fault them for that, right? But I think this team, just being stagnant, didn't get much better this offseason. And again, you look at other teams like Atlanta, like Charlotte, like Washington, teams that we're going to have to play a decent amount this year. They all got significantly better. And I would say each of those teams right now are Charlotte is probably the team that I'm not as sure on, because I just don't know if Gordon Hayward is able to get to the same level that he was at, 4 or 5 years ago. But Russell Westbrook still has it, right? He might not be an MVP caliber player anymore. But Washington, just with the addition, whether they hung on to Wall or now that they have Westbrook, they were going to get better putting someone else next to Beal, right? With the Magic, I'm just not sure. So I think 32 is probably like right around where I'm at, where I think they'll end up. If you tell me they're going to win a few more games than that or a few less games than that, I wouldn't be surprised at all.
So I'm gonna shoot on it as I'm gonna shoot on it. I think the Magic win more than 32 games this season. I think a lot of it is gonna be dependent on that relationship with Fournier, because again, as I've spoken about countless of times on the Zone BB, the problem isn't Fournier's skill set, right? Because when you compare his skill set to other shooting guards in the league, and then even for the people who hate Fournier, you ask who's a better option, most oftentimes you can't get an honest response back, right? It's an emotional response. So I think when you look at that, you realize that the problem is Fournier's role on the team. And if Clifford
100%.
If Clifford can have a discussion with him, especially with the young guys coming in, and explain, hey, we can no longer have you as a primary offensive threat. We can no longer have you as a ball handler any longer. We need you to kind of stand back, be a catch and shoot guy for us, try to finish at the rim, things like that. I think Evan could definitely help this team succeed. And because of that, I think he will adapt to that role this season. And that'll help the team, get more wins than the 32. I think the number of total games in the season is going to be, kind of impact that a little bit. Obviously it's not going to be an 82 game season. But I believe if the team does a good job at determining roles and players accept those roles and fit into them, I think this could be a 35-win team.
Man, so I'm torn. I think that if we remain healthy and, Aminu comes back and has the type of season he had for Portland a couple of years back, if the young guys get better as season goes on, if Vucevic has that Milwaukee Bucks series type of performance throughout the season, basically if everything falls...
Well, then we're the 1 seed.
100%.
Exactly. If everything falls into place... I'm
kidding.
I can see this team doing well if everything falls into place. Number one, health. My concerns are I don't think that's going to happen due to COVID. It's a unique season, right? So many things can go wrong. So I'm going to pass just because, again, I think things are just not going to fall the way that we want them to. And I think this team will underperform at some point. Again, I do fully expect Fournier to be moved, possibly even AG at the deadline. So now our team will not be, as talented. So now that win total will go down. Ideally, we're all Magic fans, right? We want to see our team in the playoffs, want to see our team do well. But like you guys said, I think this is a year where we understand as a front office, as a coaching staff, even the players, it's about development this season. It's a gap year while we wait for Isaac to come back. So I definitely think that will impact things too as well. So in my mind, I think we win anywhere between 28 to 31 games, but we remain under that 32 mark.
Orlando's going to re-sign Evan, and all of you guys are going to be upset, but they are.
You're right about that. You are 100. If that does happen, you are 100% correct. Yes, I just don't see Evan being able to step back and like move to a different role on this team, just because he's been a leader of this team for so long now.
It doesn't make sense for him to play a different role at the end of his this is a contract year. He's already stated, or it's been reported, that he's had interest in other teams. Even if we wanted to re-sign him, I don't even see Evan Fournier staying with the team. But we're not getting off subject.
Can we talk about this man trying to sell a house that he literally just bought? Can we talk about that?
There's no way. The dude is dying to wear a Sacramento jersey with the number 10 on it. This dude is dying to get out of Orlando. But at the end of the day, you're right. We have him playing an incorrect role, right? And him taking a step back and reeling it back isn't going to help us get past 32 games. If anything, we need him to do more, because right now we don't have that. Our only scorer at the moment is Nikola Vucevic, who is someone that that can go out there and give us 20 points on average per night. Evan Fournier depends on the day. Aaron Gordon depends on the day. It depends on their mood in the morning. We really don't know. And I think for us, or Justin, I think that you're blinded at the fact that Evan Fournier is the key to get into the card that's going to get us to the promised land of winning 33 games.
I don't know if you're right or not, but I doubt Evan's going to leave the Orlando of Florida for the Orlando of California. That doesn't really make sense to me. He's not going to go to Sacramento.
Sacramento doesn't have Disney World, bro. Come on.
That's true. But I'm playing. I don't know. I think it's a touchy subject, because I think Magic Twitter hates Evan, and I think that brings Magic Twitter together, just hating on Evan.
It's warranted.
But if the end goal is to win games, trading Evan doesn't help you do that. So I don't see what the point of that would be.
The point of that would be to completely dismantle the Euro Bros and be able to have more pace, more ball movement, and the ball not getting stuck in the corner. But that's a different topic. But so moving on, we have a couple games coming in the next few days. So Sunday we have Hawks, Thursday the Hornets, and then Saturday the Hornets. What are your predictions for the next 3 games?
So I think Atlanta will probably be pretty close, just like it was last night. That's a team who's just added so much talent, like Bogdanovich, Danilo Gallinari. They've got other guys that are hurt right now that aren't playing, like Rondo. But I think that is a team that just needs more reps. Like, they just need to play together more. I thought that was pretty evident last night. So I think that game will be pretty close. Charlotte, man, I have no idea. Like, I'm very excited to see what LaMelo looks like on the court with like real NBA players, and just kind of how he and Gordon Hayward are going to, share the ball. And you got Scary Terry over there still making just ridiculous amounts of money. So I don't really know. I think we'll probably end up being like 3-1, 2-2 in the preseason here. If we beat, Atlanta tonight, maybe we're looking at 3-1. If we lose, maybe we're looking at 2-2, 1-3. I mean, it's preseason, right? Like, it's really not that big of a deal. I'm just kind of excited to see LaMelo and see Gordon Hayward.
Yeah, same thing. I think we, like you mentioned, I think 3-1, 2-2. It's kind of what we finish. But for me personally, it's all about seeing the young guys. Again, I want to see Cole out there some more. I want to see Chuma get a little more minutes than he did last night. I kind of like the rotation, though. I kind of like the first half you don't play. Second half, you kind of go all out and let him just feel confident saying, hey, I'm going to play this whole half.
I was like, they're saying Chuma has a 14-minute limit. What is he just going to play the last 14 minutes of the game? And that's almost what he did.
Yeah, that was weird. So he kind of split it with AG. But I'm looking forward to that, to see the young guys. And ideally, at some point, I would like to see, maybe towards the end of the preseason, maybe Mo Bamba makes an appearance and just see what he looks like. I don't think he'll miss the start of the season. I don't think it's that big of a deal what he has going on. But I think I want to, again, just see the young guys. That to us, I think, is what the season is all about. And I want to see some of that here towards the next 3 games.
During the preseason, with the young roster we have, I think, like Al said, it's about seeing the young guys. I think in the league today, the more you run, the more likely you are to win. And I think that the Magic are kind of fitting into that a little bit more. And that'll be interesting to see just how it progresses through the preseason. I don't think, even though last night's Hawks game was, like they said, spirited, there was an actual effort to win. The Hawks were like fouling with 10 seconds left on the clock in the fourth quarter. There was an effort to win there, and I think that's a byproduct of them not playing for as long as they have. I don't know. I think it'll be interesting to see, but I do agree the 2-2, 3-1 is probably what we're looking at.
Yeah, it's preseason. Doesn't matter if they win. Doesn't matter if they lose. I'm sure the Hawks, the way that they viewed it, even though they lost, they still see it as a win because they were able to see certain players play and develop and whatnot. I think the same concept goes for us. If we lose out the next 3 games, cool. If not, it is what it is. The most important thing is being able, is for Cliff being able to go out and experiment on different rotations, and being able to get some runtime for the new guys. I think is really important because at the end of the day, the Nikola Vucevic and Aaron Gordon has to get accustomed to playing with Cole Anthony and Chuma OThreeKe and so on and so forth, and vice versa. So I think that if we go 2-2, that's great for confidence, but at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter.
Right.
Yeah. So let's wrap this up. Final thoughts. What are your final thoughts on the team?
I mean, gap year. I think Al kind of put that perfectly. It's a gap year. You know what I mean? I think there's a lot of pressure next year when Jonathan Isaac comes back. The thing that we have to remember is a lot of times it takes a whole year once you're back from an ACL to really be back. So hoping that he recovers really well. Hope we have huge years out of the young guys, Markelle, Chuma, Cole, Mo Bamba, and just kind of let the chips fall where they may this year.
Yeah, my final thoughts are I want to see Cole Anthony maintain that same dog mentality throughout preseason and throughout the season, man. I want him to not lose that confidence in shooting the ball, attacking the rim. He'll make mistakes. We know that. But, man, again, we haven't had a rookie with this much fire in him in a while. Just simply a guy that wants to come in and make a difference and score the ball. I mean, I can't think of the last one. So I want Cole to keep that, throughout preseason and throughout the entire season this year.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. There's not much you can say for final thoughts. I think everybody's kind of hoping the young guys pan out. I do want to see, I don't know his first name, but I do want to see Kennedy get some play time. I think he can crack the roster for sure. But it's more so dependent on how much Clifford allows him to play.
One of the things that stood out to me last night is that it felt like Cole Anthony looked a lot smaller on the court than what I was expecting. Like, he looked a lot shorter. From my understanding, and obviously I don't follow Trae Young like that, but I thought Trae Young is standing at 6'3". Cole Anthony's listed at the same height, and he looks shorter than Trae Young. So I think he's a lot shorter than what is originally reported and listed.
I think more of it, and I kind of had different, sometimes I'm like, man, he's looks smaller than I thought. Other times I was like, oh, he looks a little bigger than I thought. I think what it is his frame. He's not as filled out as a lot of these guys that we're accustomed to seeing. But that will come with time. But that's hilarious. I was literally texting Luke that last night, like, yo, this guy looks smaller. And then 2 minutes later, I'm like, wait a minute, he actually looks pretty big. So I don't know. We'll get another look tomorrow.
The good thing is that even though he looked smaller, he was still throwing his body out there, trying to grab rebounds, taking into the lane, getting body contact. He was still doing all those things. Exactly. So it's nice to see that doesn't stop him from still trying to play strong. What I think that I'm dying for everyone to see, because we didn't get a really good chance at seeing it last night, is his athleticism. Like that one time that he takes it down the middle hard and he just slams it in, because we know that he's capable of doing those things. I think that was probably the hardest things to watch last season. With DJ Augustine is so quick with the ball, and he's able to take the ball to the rack, and he does really good at driving in. But his finishes sometimes, it didn't match it. We do have a player now that obviously is not the same height, but still small in size, that can finish at the rim at the level that he's able to. So something that I'm excited to see.
I think DJ led the league at guys getting to the rim and then just kind of wrapping around the baseline and coming back out and restarting the offense.
Anyways, Jonathan, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. If you're able to share exactly where it is that everyone's able to follow and listen to your stuff.
Yep. So Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at Sixth Man Show, and then podcasts just kind of all over the place. Wherever you listen to your podcast, you should be able to find us. I hope. If not, let me know, and we'll see what we can do. But thank you, guys.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us, and that's a wrap for us. Peace.
Thank you for listening to the OZone podcast, the voice of Magic fans.
Be sure to visit our website, theozonepod.com, and remember to subscribe, rate, and leave a review on all your favorite podcast listening platforms.